Did you know that watching me water this plant supports mental health? Watching me not work out today also helps.
Mike, do you remember to buy the milk?
Watching me realize that I did not get the milk is helping.
Watching me vacuum supports mental health.
Watching me nail this putt helps.
Go!
Watching me take this slap shot even helps. Top corner.
Because today is Bell Let's Talk Day, and every time someone watches this video, Bell will donate 5 cents towards Canadian mental health initiatives. So thank you for watching and helping and sharing and watching and helping and watching.
Hey, guess what? I got something super special for you today, because today in the Rat Hole, we are live.
The number you have dialed has been changed. The new number is...
Hello, Internet. We are going to take that screen off. Hello, we're live. My name is Paparazzo Dave Chapman, and you are live in the Rat Hole. And today we've got a very special conversation. It is, if you tuned in right as we started, Bell Let's Talk Day, which is, let's be honest, it's a corporate ad campaign, but it also supports mental health. And that's a really important topic. So I've got a couple of great guests here from Diversely Geek and the Diversely Me Foundation. So I'm going to bring up first the wonderful Neisha Mulchan. Hello, Neisha.
Hello, Dave. How are you?
I am good. So Jonathan is going to be joining us here shortly. You both are medical professionals and have both had a really long hard day. So glad that you were able to make it, and that Jonathan will be making it shortly, probably out of breath.
I think so. I think he might be just like yeah, catching his breath. But our conversation today will be perfect.
Exactly. So why don't we start the conversation with a little bit about yourself? Just tell us about you.
About me, myself, and me. Well, first of all, thank you for allowing us and asking us to participate in such an important event and in such an important conversation. So the Bell Let's Talk, I mean, wow, it's just an honor to be able to present our information and what we know and our passions to people across the lovely Canadian borders. I am so excited. And I will let you know a little bit about myself. So I am Neisha T Mulchan, and I am an advanced practice registered nurse in the state of Florida. I specialize in family practice and board certified in family practice, and as an independent practitioner also in the state. I have extensive work in neurology and psychiatry, mental wellness, and I actually trained in holistic care as well. So, as if that wasn't enough, I am literally I'm going to say one of the biggest nerds and geeks in my life anyway, but I would say pretty much anywhere, which is pretty atypical for a 50-something-year-old Indian woman. So I've been breaking the mold for as long as I can remember when it comes to embracing and engaging in your geek passions. So I know we're going to be talking about that, and we share that so much. And quite a few years, like 10, 11 years back, I had a family member extremely dear and near to me, very important in my life, who suffered through extreme manic depressive bipolar disorder with some psychotic features. And because of the struggle that he went through in his life and the nature of his passing from this world, my family and myself were really, really motivated and inspired to create some type of platform that would help those who are not just marginalized, but there are disparate communities in the world, Dave, that sometimes we don't realize that they're disparate, where we don't always recognize that they need help because they don't know how to ask for it. And so we really wanted to work with those communities to be able to give them a voice and to also help them find a strategy they can use every day of their life. And that's how this merging of this passion for geekdom and for mental health awareness kind of merged and came together into the person you see today.
Yay! And I love the person I see today.
Thank you.
We were talking before, and I said, have we only shared one show? Because we met through Legend of the Traveling TARDIS.
We did. Mm-hmm.
But I think we only actually had the one episode together over the last, however long that's been, a year and something for me.
One or two episodes, I think, total, because for some reason we always manage to not get on the same episodes. When he has me on, I am coming on most often, speaking from the point of view for mental health and looking at the psychotic nature of Doctor Who. Okay, let's put it simple because it's what it is.
Yep. and that's kind of what got me in thinking, oh, we should do something about that today. Mm-hmm. And so now, and you were gracious enough, like I said, to come join us, talk about gaming and mental health. We were sitting where we were sitting. I'm just looking at the time, going, it's probably about another 5 minutes or so, maybe less. So why don't we do tell us a little bit about where Diversely Geek has been so far before we get into where it is now and where it is going. What have you been doing? Where has it been already? What have you been doing with it?
Good gracious. Now that's another mouthful. You have to go and ask me that one. Okay, I hope we have time, my darling. Oh my goodness, my lovely. Okay, so look, I think you know me already. You've been with me with our chats and our discussions, and I'm a very strong go-getter in terms of if there's something to investigate and find out, I'm going to do it. Because I believe that the best form of knowledge is the inquiring mind and the investigating mind. And so once I looked at the situation and the box that we lived in that, created the conundrum and the pain and the suffering for this person in my life, I needed to investigate and inquire. As a medical professional, I had already been a nurse for over 20 years at the time, but didn't have the skills and the talents and the wherewithal. I thought I did, but then I realized I need a lot more. So we created this organization. At the time, it was called You're Just as Sane as I Am, modeled after the words by the one and only Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter, because I think she's one of the most brilliant characters ever created, and represented such high levels of sanity and self-awareness. And so we wanted to represent her. And that organization built and morphed until we made the decision to create Diversely Geek, which was over 7 years ago. In that period of time, we have been doing some very insurmountable I feel insurmountable at times, research and data analysis. So I hypothesized 7 years ago that if we taught a child from early childhood to engage in and embrace their geek side through the various forms of geekdom that exist in this world, which include tabletop gaming, RPG, which could be building and drawing and science and making that volcano that you get to, all of that. I theorize that when we create that as a formative foundation in a kid's life as they grow, that they will feel so much self-aware, and that self-awareness allows them to build self-confidence and self-love and self-value. So we created a series of research data points, and over the years as we posted, and we've had, I'm going to say probably at this point over 15 million responses in the last somewhat years, maybe even more, to be honest with you. And we are in 78 countries around the world. We've monitored that data to figure out how many people connect to those words. And it was astounding, Dave, how just using 7 to 11 solid continuous words of positive messaging brought people in and connected to people. So that's what we've done for the 7 years. And in those years, we've been doing panels across the country at Comic Cons and comic conventions. So we've been from San Diego Comic Con all the way to New York Comic Con. Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully you'll be up here, maybe to come to Edmonton or Calgary, when the world reopens.
We just got into Fan Expo. It had just happened, actually.
Yeah. They
had invited us to present our workshops, and that was going to start here in Orlando and then move from there. But, when the time comes, it'll happen.
Yeah. With Lockheed, I'm excited if everything goes right and borders reopen. Hopefully I'll get to see you at MegaCon.
Oh,
I'm planning to be down there right around that time for Gen Con. So it's only a 14-hour drive from Indianapolis to Orlando.
Hoping to be at Gen Con, so we might actually see you there.
Hey, I love this plan.
So we can do something.
Yes, definitely. I love it. Jonathan, killing time here.
Nah, I can talk. Trust me.
Oh, I know. As was pointed out, I gave you a loaded question. We got another con. Soon is amazing.
In like this much time. Thanks, Dave. Thanks a lot. No.
Hey, no worries. Stacy was being a smart aleck. Yes, we are in fact live.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I see people on here. We have us live on our page right now as well. So you're kind of getting traffic from both sides.
I love it.
So, I'm interested, if you don't mind. We came up with the concept of tabletop gaming, and I could probably talk for hours on it. And I was wondering, why did you feel so closely connected to it yourself?
Oh,
that's another question.
Hold on. There you go. Dang. For me, it came down to some of it was biology, actually. I'm ambidextrous. I am left eye dominant and ever so slightly right hand dominant, which makes hand-eye coordination absolutely terrible. So growing up with video games, the 8-bit games and 16-bit, NES, Super NES, those weren't hard games, but I still sucked at them.
Well, right, because the connection between the left
exactly.
and right.
So exactly. So it's just not. But whereas tabletop gaming, I don't usually have to deal with that. Okay. It's not necessarily the real time. It's, okay, great, I can make a move. I don't have to aim and time a jump or anything like that. Right. And from there, it just kind of grew. Over the last few years, it's exploded. I've always preferred tabletop. I think I started with Advanced Dungeons and Dragons way back.
Oh, yes, I love Dungeons and Dragons.
Playing over the phone, even. Like, it was just because that landline, my parents hated it. Played very early on in the Magic the Gathering. And a few other, that went through the first boom of the collectible card games, and kind of just fell out of it because life happened. I went on the road for a while, So it's a little harder to play. And, I was also very into comic books, came on with Geekorama.net, who is also broadcasting this right now.
Right.
Came on as a photographer with them. And eventually, I'm a little bored. Can I review something? So I reviewed a couple of comics and I started reviewing a couple of games because I had them.
Mm-hmm.
I reviewed a few more games. And now I've got my own site and I still do the odd comic book for them. But most of my stuff is here.
So I would say that you one of the points that we're going to talk about when Jonathan comes up, but we can start whenever, is how formative and transformative it is to engage in something like that, in something that is so intimately self-fulfilling, if that makes sense, something that you're able to say, okay, this gives me satisfaction. This actually allows me to feel confident, but at the same time, I feel at ease. Like, for instance, how you were saying with RPGs, I have a really, really, really hard time with hand-eye coordination the exact same way because I'm dyslexic. So dyslexia and playing video games is not easy. Sure, I could pay Nintendo because that's a focus. That's a single focus game. Those were fantastic. Once we went into a different level, it was harder for me. I enjoy them, but it was harder. But but being able to do something like role playing but at the same time, like we're Dungeons and Dragons, it's tabletop but real role playing at the same time. That is so transitional and such a critical element of our ability to really be able to understand our own growth, if that, you know what I'm saying? And know who we are. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I played it when I was a much younger kid because I'm not exactly young. And then a huge chunk of my life, I did all the things I was supposed to. Like, so what happens is then you lose some letters of, Molly's giving us a whole list of wonderful games as you see them. With the supposed to time, you lose that connection to that passion, right? To that thing that really creates that satisfaction. And actually, unfortunately, you can give in to things like anxiety and stress and strain, and the mind kind of takes over. But then if you're really lucky, you're with me, I was finally lucky to have kids who were like, no, Mom, you got to do these things,
Yeah.
And with re-engaging was able to really see the benefits. So
that kind of just leads us into the research you've been doing with how role-playing games and other tabletop games kind of improve your mental wellness. And that's kind of where things start, for everything, I guess, really. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about that? I know Jonathan's, your co-researcher on that, and he'll be here at any moment.
So Jonathan is the co-researcher on the book that we're going. Hopefully, now we will be releasing the book. Finally, the workbook will be coming out this year with the launch of the new website, which we'll talk about when he comes up. But we actually include an entire worksheet in our workbook on self-care through embracing our fandom passions. Believe it or not, we wrote an entire self-care workbook through geekdom. It's the first of its kind, and I must say it's amazing. But an entire section is dedicated to the importance of play. So we actually ask you to delve into the forms and the types of play that help you to be able to restructure the stress in your life or help you to redirect your thoughts. So let's really think about it. So we want to really discuss the benefit and the positive impact of engaging in tabletop gaming and RPG gaming as a child. But I have a firm belief that we're all children, right? So there's never too late to start something. It doesn't matter if you're 0 or if you're 99. If this is the time for you to do it, then yay, kudos for you, and I'm here to help you. So how does that affect or impact or influence the intellectual, spiritual, emotional, the mental, and the behavioral health? Yeah, that's a big question, I know. Well, the thing is that it affects every single bit of those. And those are the 5 main phases of self-actualization or self-awareness. So I'm sure people are asking, wow, what, really? Playing games can help us to be able to become better people, have better intellect, be more spiritually sound and physically healthy? Well, the fact is absolutely. And it's science. The science has proven it. There's a lot of research that's been done over the last 18 years, but the closer, the ones that are more nuanced over the last 5 years specifically include RPG, which it didn't before, which was kind of interesting because D&D has been around forever. So you would have thought that we would have had a little bit more research, but it took a while for people to say that gaming and engaging in gaming is actually a positive thing. Hey, let's figure out how it is a positive thing, And I mean, how many of us have had the experience where family members are saying, "What, you game all the time? That's a waste of your time," right?
Well, yeah. Well, why don't we ask Jonathan if he's had that experience, because he is now here.
Yay!
Let's add him in. Yay!
Hi guys.
Hello. Welcome.
There he is.
You're good. Yep. As I was, we were having the conversation already. You guys are working medical professionals, and that will always take priority over something like this. So I'm just glad you were able to make it. We killed a little bit of time, but not that much.
Yeah.
Well, I think I said relevant things, Dave. I mean,
yes, you did.
So.
I'm not saying you most definitely did.
I was sneaking in the background and listening to you, and it sounded awesome. So I and I have had people say the same thing to me about, well, all you do is game all day. When are you going to get off of that? And well, I mean, here I am. So
but that's the point at which we're at right now.
Yeah.
Let's start with that question. The one that we were asked over the last 30 plus years, because we went from tabletop gaming to video and RPG gaming within the last 30 years is where it really became highly a more immersive world. And in that period of time, we had more elders and telling us, well, that shouldn't be the thing that you engage in all day because it has a negative impact. But I mean, as a 30-something-year-old, how do you feel about that, Jonathan? And how would you respond to that?
I mean, it got me through, my teenage years growing up. And, like most teenagers go through a lot of hardships and a lot of hard times. And, it allowed me to connect with friends and even my own siblings. Like, there weren't tabletop games, but we were playing online games, and we would even go online and play RPGs together, and so it even brought me closer to my own family. And I think it to some extent allowed me to develop some of those social skills that I have today, and it even helped me develop some of my critical thinking, some of the the skills that I use every day today in my my work life. And studies that we're seeing actually show the benefit of gaming helping even in the medical field, like for so many ways. Like, not only does it help for surgeons to develop their manual dexterity and be able to operate with that fine
motor skills.
Exactly. And it also helps our autistic children and our autistic clientele develop kind of their skills to be able to communicate. And so it does it helps us develop all of these skills. And I think it played a role in getting me to where I am today. It kept me out of trouble. I was able to do something constructive with my friends. That was it might have been a waste of time to certain people, and why aren't you going to go outside? And fine, I'll go outside and I'll play Pokemon. So it's portable.
Especially now. Yep.
Exactly. Right? I mean, you could stay inside right now on stay-at-home orders and play games, but you could also go out to an open area and get fresh air and play games socially distanced. So
Neisha, you're in Florida. Jonathan, you're in California now, but you're originally from Quebec. Am I correct?
yeah, from Montreal.
So you will realize this. It is January 28th, and currently minus 20 and snowing.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not going to go outside and play. Maybe some hockey, but we're not even supposed to play that in Alberta right now. It's we're very much locked down. But yeah, you and your Southern American sun. It's not freezing.
In my defense,
degrees, so
in my defense, COVID started last March. So there was an entire summer where everybody could be going out and doing things. And
this is true. This is very true.
I mean, it didn't happen
people did.
now, but I was kind of told on my way home from work today that the weather in Montreal is going down to like minus 22 Celsius, which is, I don't know what in Fahrenheit niche. I can do the calculation, but I'm not going to because it's really cold and I don't want to remember it. But
yeah, it's not fun.
I ran from it like a I want to say a wuss, but I'd say a smart person. So
oh my goodness. Well, listen, it doesn't. So we're going to go out and game in the fresh air when it's wise to do so, okay? Not when we're going to get outside.
Yeah, nobody has hypothermia. Like, we don't need that.
Oh my goodness, you're so silly. I love you guys so much. I know we were kind of talking a little bit now about I was telling him Dave about how we realized that science has proven that RPG gaming and tabletop gaming has positive influences and impacts and benefits in the intellect, the emotion, and behavioral health, as well as spiritual health. And I had we kind of just started to talk about intellect.
Right.
So I think it may be hard for people to kind of juxtapose those things, because here it sounds like, oh, it's all this language, and gaming doesn't seem like it applies to that. But yeah, it does. You know, it's amazing when you sit and you think. Recently we've been playing Jenga with my family. We got, my sister-in-law bought it for the family over the holidays. And I have to tell you, from my mother to my father, we will sit 5 to 6 of us at a time, and we will engage in Jenga with such intense passion. Like an hour and a half worth of, okay, where can we move? But wait, okay, but if we do this, that's gonna happen. And then our like, we have this huge, it's not like it's like we bet each other, but we're like, oh, let's see how high we can go without knocking down the Jenga thing, you know. And who knew that something as simple as that would literally challenge us, our critical thinking, our risk adjustment, our ability to work as a team, even though we're technically working individually. But if we worked individually when we played Jenga, that thing would fall down constantly. Like, we'd never get past the first full round, right?
Mm-hmm. But I think that's actually kind of amazing, because a lot of families will, you hear all the horror stories. Oh, I hate board game night because my family's so competitive. They'll play. It's cutthroat Jenga. It's no, I'm setting this up so you're knocking it down. Forget teamwork. You're setting people up to fail, but that doesn't have to be the case.
I brought up Monopoly to a colleague today, and I was saying, we're talking about board games giving you they're shown to reduce anxiety and allow you to have fun and let go. But there's something about Monopoly that just gets to me. And, by the end of that game, I'm like probably a little anxious because I just want to flip the board because somebody made me go bankrupt. But it does, even something like Monopoly, I mean, you're learning about money, you're learning about value, it might stress me out, but I know that, it's fun, and I'm still, doing something constructive, and, I'm learning at the same time. So I can tell you, I know nothing about property value, but Monopoly helped a little. So
insert joke about millennials.
That's you guys right there. Not me. Oh my God.
I'm the very, very older end of the Zennial, that mini generation. I still remember a time where The Simpsons were not on television, but not for very long. That was like junior high, early 7, 6, 6, 7.
Oh my goodness.
Right. So now that we've dated me even more than we already had, it teaches all the, it's teaching all these skills, communication, critical thinking, and just learning to have fun, because that is something you do kind of have to learn, and sometimes you have to relearn as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of lose that. There's always the stories, oh, as you grow older, oh, you stop seeing fairies, you stop whatever it is, because you've grown out of it. And we kind of sometimes just outgrow fun. And so relearning, and this is a great way to relearn how to do that and how to experience that joy. Hopefully. I mean, I would totally agree with that point to an extent. I mean, I'm a grown-up child. I still, I'm like 100% Disney, Harry Potter, all of that, because those are things that just, again, got me through high school, got me through, I love it. Oh my God, I love it. Harry Potter played a huge role in my life, so I am so hooked to it. One of the things that I kind of regret about leaving Florida is, risk is stressful, but Clue is always fun. I love it. Now, one of the things I miss about Florida is the Wizarding of World of Harry Potter, because we all know that it's a lot bigger there, and Disney World, and it's not gaming, but it's things that got me through growing up, and I have Harry Potter Clue. I have
actually.
Yeah, and I love it. And I remember I kind of forced my mom to play, and she didn't get it. She didn't love it, but I loved it. I'm a grown child.
She did it to make you happy, John, because I know your mom, and I know she'd do that. Exactly. But the thing is, it's about play. You remember how I was saying that, John, I was explaining to Dave and everyone that we had created an entire worksheet dedicated to the art of play. And and it's one of the first ones you do in the series, because of how absolutely critical it is to disarm ourselves from the inhibitors of the deterrence, the things we're supposed to do. And I keep saying that because when we listen to all of the chatter about you are supposed to be this person and the expectations of how we're supposed to live, we're going to miss out on the satisfaction and the fun and the things that actually help us to truly grow. Okay, I'm not saying don't listen to parents, kids. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that we all have to learn how to find a balance about how to make fun something that is healthy, beneficial, but also something that motivates and inspires, if that makes sense.
There's nothing wrong with being an adult who still loves all of these things. I mean, look behind Neisha, like, all of the Avatar and everything. It's amazing, but there's nothing wrong with it. It makes you fun. It makes you quirky. It, makes you more interesting. There's nothing wrong with it. It's social. It creates something to talk about with your peers. I mean, they might ask you. I would walk around with, when I used to work nights, I had a big golden snitch on my jacket, and people would ask me about it, and I would be able to, tell stories about my, interest of Harry Potter. But it's the same thing with gaming. I mean, it gives you that ability to bond with people and to talk with people, and look at I don't really play it, but look at Dungeons and Dragons when you guys go out to tournaments and things like that, and you're around new people all the time, or the same people that you've met there many times, and you've now developed some sort of strong bond with, some friendships. You bonded over this game that also has shown it's another one that allows you to think and it challenges the brain. It helps keep you, keep you going mentally. A lot of people, if you're, look at, especially right now, it's COVID, we're at home, we're not doing much, we're watching TV all the time, unless you're working from home or you're like Neisha and I, and, actually healthcare workers out there working. But a lot of people don't have that opportunity and they're stuck at home. And, I think the worst thing you can do is just watch TV and do nothing, because your brain will get lazy, and, you risk getting older with, some form of, dementia, or, you have to challenge your brain, and these games are another way to do it. So there's plenty, that's one of the benefits, actually.
Right. And we talk about it in our research. It's actually a really strong part of our analysis is what's called world building. So when we play a game like Clue, Risk especially, and I always go back to Risk, but then of course Dungeons and Dragons, you have to put them in different categories, because obviously they have different lengths of play, right? And they engage you differently and and different parts of the mind, and you're collaborating with people a little bit differently with each of those. But you do realize you're world building the entire time, because you have to. There is no choice, because Clue, you are making decisions based on ruling out and inquiry, and based on strategic analysis of the people around you.
No, but Battleship is another one I used to love, and it's very much like Clue. And it's another one of the, it's kind of the mentally stimulating games that, it keeps us alert. It keeps us with it. Like, you need to stimulate your brain.
You do. Yeah.
Yeah. And Molly has a great question here, and it kind of carries through to what I was going to ask as well. So she was saying, can you speak more to how people can learn to do more self-care with the fandom and improve mental health? And I was going to say, how does this kind of transfer into a more applied clinical sense to really apply what you're saying?
Right. So this is actually the field of applied behavioral sciences that we're talking about, which is based on those 5 areas that we discussed, which is intellect, spirituality, emotional health, mental health, and physical health. So in the long run, okay, and I was kind of going to go into that as we talked our way through to Dungeons and Dragons. When you world build, what you are doing is physically recreating the way your body adjusts, adapts, authenticates, contrives, constructs, and then instructs. So I know that's a lot of pieces of the puzzle, if that makes sense. But each of those has to do with a different part of the brain, and how the different neurochemicals in the brain work, and what do they stimulate in the different parts of the brain. So I could talk a lot of science, but we don't need to do that. We just need to understand that when we go through those different stages that I'm talking about, we are allowing from the frontal lobe to go back to the basal, and we ask then the frontal lobe to stimulate different parts of the brain. We want the amygdala to be stimulated, because that's where we have memory, and that's where we have things like thought, fun. There's just so much in that's housed in that area. So when we learn to structure, reconstruct, construct, instruct, and just literally think our way through something like Dungeons and Dragons, what we're doing is building a world where we're reteaching ourselves constantly who we are, who we can be. So we're reconstructing ourselves regularly. So do we think that's a bad thing, to reconstruct yourself regularly? Does that sound slightly psychotic? The answer is really no, because actually at no point in existence, not now and not now, am I the same person. I already changed in that one instance, because my thought pattern already changed, right? My cellular structure changed, right? So therefore, world building and games that world build that you engage in actually allow you and teach you how to adapt and adjust based on that constant state of change. I know lots to talk in a big conversation, but does that make sense a little bit? So then, therefore, if you are now able to cope with change and the challenges and struggles that come with change, which is what, again, Risk and so many other games teach you, world building games teach you, then you are more likely to be able to stimulate the positive centers in the brain with positive feedback loops, and you won't necessarily get stuck in a negative loop. Negative loops aren't a bad thing as long as it's not a negative inhibitor or deterrent or something attached to it. So it's when you have that constructive nature within you and you accept adaptation and adjustment in that way, then you take that with you through your life. It actually builds a very strong state of confidence and self-awareness and self-knowledge. And I can't even express how important it is to go into your life through school and into your career, having a sense of self like that. I couldn't even explain. Oh, well, I will, because the book explains it. However, wait a minute. I was like, wait, I did explain that. It's in a book we wrote. However, that, Molly, is how that works. Because that just engaging in that way is a huge part of our self-care. And like I said, that's already engaging in a couple parts of our the state of self-care. One is being able to actively participate and play. The other one is being able to engage in those five, those 5 stages that we talked about, and actively engage the intellectual self, the spiritual self, the emotional self, the mental self, and then all of which then improves the physical self. Kind of makes sense?
Yep.
You concur, John?
I concur, Neisha.
Molly seems to agree that it does, in fact, make sense.
She also concurs.
Question asked and answered.
Woo!
Woo! We win.
Yes, Molly, it is actually exactly that. Actually, you could talk about that, John.
Molly. Exactly.
You can actually talk about that point, because that's actually one of the things we were going to talk about today.
That's that comment that Molly just made is a big part of what we're trying to do is, take those negative thoughts and those negative kind of feelings, which, like you said, they're okay. You just don't, you don't want them to persist. You don't want them to take over your life, and you need to learn how to build and expand and to move from it. And, those are ways that kind of help you through it. It helps you take that negative and learn about it, learn from it, and make something positive out of it. And that's a big thing about, I'm sure Neisha talked about our workbook that we made, and that's a big part of it, is teaching you how to, become a little, a more rounded and kind of positive person with better coping skills to be able to deal with these day-to-day negative, aspects, things that, would normally, a lot of people get stuck on those negative paths, and they overthink and they downward spiral. And this, it's kind of how to get out of that spiral and learn to grow from it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny because the game Trouble, remember the game Trouble? Okay, literally popped into my head as you were talking about negative spirals.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
Please continue.
Because if you don't get the right number when you're playing, you're like, I can't move. I'm stuck here. I can't go anywhere. Amazing me. But in the long run, what can you do about that when you pop it to get your roll? What can you do about that?
Exactly.
What could you do?
And there's no point in
shaking it, which is elite. I mean, that's not the game. So
Peter. No, there's nothing to do about it. And it's, the whole point of that, you're stuck in that situation, but you're having fun. You're not, totally losing your mind saying, I can't move. And you're getting really, the point, you're having fun. You're playing a game with somebody. you know, or Uno. I love Uno. You know, you're having fun out of this negative kind of situation. I know some people get a little too competitive. I'm one of them, but you know, it teaches you how to put that aside and actually enjoy this. You know, this is happening, and you know, normally you would react and go, oh my, you know, shoot, like I'm stuck, and you'd get upset by that. And you know, the whole point of this is you're interacting with someone, so you're taking something that would otherwise kind of it's a little annoyance, it's not like a big deal, but you're having fun with it, and that's the whole point. And it teaches you how to move past these things. So that's why growing up and playing these games, you know, even as a kid, as a child, like it teaches you all of those skills that you need in your day-to-day life, you know. It's definitely got
So
me.
I was talking with Dave a little bit ago about you can engage in this type of activity for restructuring your thinking and your thought patterns and your self patterns, self-awareness patterns. You can engage in that anytime in your life, right? I mean, at any point in your life, you can, and actually you should. So do we think that this is a linear construct? Does anyone think that we start at A and we move our way to Z and that's how it works?
No.
Right. So, I mean,
I can say no. Maybe
exactly.
when we were younger, that's what we believed. But, you know, growing up, you realize that no, it's not linear. There's, you know, there's valleys, there's mountains, there's, you know, peaks, and
Wibbly wobbly.
Exactly.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. That is literally exactly what it is, Dave. Why do you think I engaged so highly and strongly in Doctor Who? And why it had such a huge impact in terms of me making a decision to go into medicine? The doctor's not a doctor. The doctor's not even likable all the time. But
It's true.
Very true.
But like it's about understanding that we are fallible and that's okay. It's understanding that we're going to make mistakes and that's okay. And gaming teaches us, right? I was talking to my daughter and she's been playing Mass Effect forever. And I asked her, why does she go back and play things over again and certain things? And I wanted to understand. And, you know, she can jump in and answer if she wants to in the chat because I think she's watching the show.
She better be watching.
I hope she's watching somewhere. But I think, you know, her answer is not unique. The fact is that sometimes, while we've already learned it once and we've learned it twice and we may have learned it up to 5 times, sometimes the 6th time will teach us something so much different that becomes the most important time that we've learned it, right? And we didn't have to fail per se. Exactly, Molly. We didn't have to fail it. That's not the point anyway, because that's not what we're doing. We may not win a game or something, but we're not failing at it. We're just figuring out how to maybe try it again and do better at it. So that's I think, if I had to explain the lesson of gaming, that's probably one of the most important things I could ever tell people is that it's not failure. It's the fact that you're just learning that it's okay not to be great at it, or not to do it, to make the mistakes or have the errors. That's normal. If you didn't make it,
how to be great at it.
Yes.
You have to, you know, even going through school. I mean, I can say I never, you know, I didn't pass every exam that I did, but the second time around, I didn't make the same mistakes. You know, it's not, again, it is gaming. My recent addiction is the new Mario on the Switch, and I can tell you that I am not as great playing these games as I used to be growing up. I kind of lost a lot of years and I stopped playing. So I've been playing recently, and I can tell you that I don't know how many times I might fail at a level, but eventually I will learn how to get through it. And it's the same thing with day-to-day life. You have failures, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to mess up. The whole point of it is, how you learn from it, how you grow from it. And it's the same thing in our Neisha and our profession. I mean, mistakes happen, they happen every now and then. And, how do you correct it? How do you make sure they don't happen again? And those are the big things. And these are things that you learn from even, all these, gaming growing up. I mean, you learn how to adapt and how do you learn from mistakes and move from them. And you don't learn if you never make any. You don't learn if you never lose a game. How do you cope with losing a game? I mean, you see the little kids all the time. You have to let them win, or they're going to start, they're going to get upset. But, eventually they learn that it's okay. I'll win the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And all the time, all along the line, what I'm hoping we're learning is self-restraint.
Yeah.
And the ability to work in a collaborative environment, even if that collaborative environment is only with yourself. Does that sound weird also? Right? Though, because if we don't learn how to forgive ourselves and to allow ourselves to make the errors, then I think we are doing a huge disservice to ourselves, because we weren't born perfect, right? So
No.
And the whole purpose of life is to be able to learn, adapt, change, learn, adapt, change, learn, adapt, change. You're doing that from the moment you're born to the moment you leave the world. So obviously.
But you do that growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, I can
adapt.
Right. Exactly.
Look at my Pokemon battles. When I used to play Pokemon, I would lose a battle against someone. Well, hey, how did I lose? What can I do to win the next one? So, I mean, that's you to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
Even to go even farther back, like the text parsing games, Zork and Wizardry and stuff. Go north. You were eaten by a snake. I'm not going to go north. I think there next time.
Right.
They translated that into it. There's a whole hardcover book called Parsley, and it's those games done in person.
Right.
And there's some amazing stuff because it's there's a review on it. TheRatHole.ca, probably / Parsley. But yeah, it's a whole book of all of that, and it's great. Andrew Looney from Looney Labs actually has a bunch of those games that he will occasionally run at conventions. Line up 1,000 people at a microphone, and now you have to adapt to what the next person did too. Okay, go north.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you're good. Now you're off the mic. Next person has to take over that. Okay, now what are you going to do? Third person back. Okay, I have no idea now.
Yeah, because you don't know, because that's unpredictable.
Yeah.
That is like literally one of the most enjoyable things. Hi, Kusuma. Thank you so much for joining. Also in California, by the way, John.
Oh.
One of the most, oh my God, I got literally chills when you said this, Dave, because one of the most enjoyable parts of engaging in any game for me is the unpredictable factor. So why I have a hard time with competitive gaming, because unless it's something I'm happy about doing, right? Because that is not who I am. That is not the brain that I have. And I do want to make that point, because there are people who are competitive gamers, poker players, for instance, and that's a tabletop game, and that's a strategic game. That's a critical analysis. That's something but that's not something that's going to create a lot, reduce your anxiety if you're playing it competitively. So I want to make that distinction, right, between those two things. I adore Scrabble, but I won't play it with a lot of members of my family because they're so competitive. I'm like, I'm out, because that's not the sensation. That's not what I need to feel inside of me to make me happy when I'm playing. So thank you for saying that, because it's the unpredictable that really gives me the joy when I'm playing a game. It's the ability to say, oh my God, that is super cool. I'm so happy. Let me learn about it and let me understand it better because I don't know anything about it. And then let me move on and try again. Like we're playing Disney Villainous, right, John?
I want to be involved in that.
Huh?
I said I want to be involved in that, but I'm all the way in California.
Well, we can play online. We can do like a group online gaming because I thought we would try that for the sake of trying it to see if we can. I love Disney Villainous. I actually really do, although the kids would probably think I don't, because I have to tell you, with the dyslexia, believe it or not, that can be a rough game to play. So I've had to learn how to adapt and adjust how I play for that game to make sense for me so that I can enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I want to make sure people understand that when you're engaging in a game, maybe you won't do this at 3 and 4 and 5, right? And maybe not even at 6, but once you get to a place where you're able to express yourself, I want that everyone is comfortable enough to say, I don't enjoy playing the game in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay? Do you understand that maybe I need to do it in this way? Because then I will feel more accepted. I will feel more welcome, or I will really be more happy. And that's tough because do you think, kids in their from 7 to 10 to 12? No, as a matter of fact, it's a very difficult time because it's a formative time when they're concretizing who they are. It is very difficult for them to be able to express the need to be heard or to be listened to. So what do you think about that?
I think,
yeah, go ahead.
Do you think it's not? I think it's more, and it's exactly what you said. They have a hard time saying what they want. It's not that they're not experiencing and still developing those same healthy habits and same behaviors of self-care, even at that age. They just don't necessarily realize it or can't, or parents don't know, they're not communicating well with their parents to be able to make those changes actually happen.
So I'm hoping if any parents are listening that it's helping them to kind of be able to be more aware.
You up there. I don't know who I'm pointing to, but I'm pointing to somebody. Stacy's still here. She's a parent.
I think that, look, the books that Dr. Spock, etc., write for parenting don't actually involve or include things like what we're talking about today. I wish it did, but it doesn't. But what we need, what parents need to know and be aware of is that a child's learning pattern and learning style. So now we're going to switch into the intellect. We've been in intellect quite a lot. As a matter of fact, we've actually been highly focused in intellect. And then Kusuma asked a really great question, and I would like to, we can maybe nudge into that one a little bit later. I know, that's why I said it, because she asked it. What we want is that a parent, I want all of us to understand, because I'm a parent of a 30 and a 27-year-old. Every single person in existence learns completely different from someone else. That's it. Understand that. Mm-hmm. Child A, B, and C will not learn the same, nor will they express their learning in the same way, right? Mm-hmm. So therefore, if you're playing a game, what that does is allows you to be able to develop your own style and sense of learning, and then expressing that learning in a game, for instance. So have you ever played a game where people are like, but that's not how you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do you're supposed to do this, right? Oh. Mm. Okay, everybody.
Make up your own rules. See, we're playing a totally different dragon game now.
Yeah, so in a sense, sometimes we have to allow people to maybe make up their own rules in the right circumstances. There are times when you can't. Let's just be straight up, right? But there are times and there are games where we need to be able to allow that to happen, because we don't learn the same. We literally cannot process are learning the same way.
No, really.
Nobody does that.
I will add in there, since this is for Bell Let's Talk Day, so that, you know, the whole making up your own rules and, you know, getting frustrated, that's not how you play, you know, you're having fun. It's an outlet. You're letting off steam. You're letting go of that anxiety, you know. There's no need to get anxious over, you know, over things like that and to get so angry and worked up because, well, those aren't the rules. You know, roll with it, you know, adapt. And, you know, the whole point of these games is it's leisure, it's fun, it's, you know, reduce your stress, reduce your anxiety, you know, do something with somebody, connect with somebody. And, you know, if you're going to get kind of worked up over those little things, then you're not really having fun and you're not really doing that. And it defeats the purpose of having, you know, playing games. I know, you know, I've been that person, you know, we've played Crazy Eights or things like that. It's a card game and everybody seems to have their own rules. And I used to be that person who will argue blue in the face saying that's not what that card does. Well, yeah. I've learned to let that go. You know, I not as bad as I used to be. I kind of can roll with it and I'll go, okay, if that's what you think, fine. But, you know, and I'd roll with it because there's no point in getting so upset over something like that when you're supposed to be having fun. That's the whole point. So, you know, you adapt, you know, that might be their version of, you know, your game. That might be their, you know, their idea of, or their, like how they understood the rules, you know.
Yeah. Their interpretation and their learning strategy. So exactly. I'm the person who will allow people to bend the rules. I've learned to be that person. I may not have been that person when I was younger. The interesting thing is of course I am in 50, so I actually do know that and learned that probably a good 15 years back. And actually I get stressed when I don't understand. And I would very much admit this to everyone. I will get stressed if the rules are so compounded that I can't extricate how the rules make sense in my brain. Again, the dyslexic brain, right? And so that makes me less likely to want to engage in that thing or in that game. So again, I'll go back to video gaming. That's oftentimes what ends up happening. But I love just watching someone play, just so you understand. I can actually walk around with John, and I've done it many times, watching him play Pokemon, collecting Pokemon. I'm just as happy to watch him do it. I don't need to do it. It's fun for me. Huh?
All the YouTubes, Minecraft, everybody. That's a whole Twitch, an entire platform almost dedicated to that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so cool. I love it. I love it so much. Oh, Kusuma said, yep, her too. Yeah. Because we don't always have to be the one hands-on, physically tactile, touching and doing. Remember, the engagement part of gaming doesn't always have to be you doing it. It can just be engaging in the fun, in the enjoyment, in the satisfaction of someone else having that fun.
Exactly.
That's me. I love that. And
contagious. And getting to watch somebody having fun and laugh, I mean, it makes you have fun. And, you know, I can understand that.
Yep.
And you start getting invested in it just like you would with a sport.
Yes.
There's no difference.
As a matter of fact, you nailed it. That's exactly what it is. I love sports. So Kusuma asked a couple questions, John. Do you want to try and field a couple of those? So she talked about nudging back into video gaming. If you guys talked about that would be great. And
I would probably be good at that one.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think that's you.
Yeah.
That's you guys. So go ahead. I'm going to let y'all handle that one.
I haven't
all yours.
been playing in a long time. I only just got back into video games, and it's because of COVID. I was so bored and, you know, at home, and, you know, so I got a Switch and I started playing. And what got me into it is basically getting back into what I used to love. So I loved Mario. I loved, you know, Mario Kart. I loved Yoshi, all of those. So I started playing Mario, and now I'm hooked. It's not, you know, Final Fantasy or anything like that, because that wasn't really what I connected to growing up. But, you know, even something like Kingdom Hearts, I used to play that growing up, and I loved King, because it's Disney, so of course I loved it. So the Division, yeah. So you just get back into it. You pick up a controller and you start playing. I mean, it'll bring back that little spark, I guess. I think it's very easy to get back into, but then you get hooked and you don't want to turn it off because you get addicted to a level where, you know, you're on a mission. You have to beat that level. So it gets addicting, and you know what? It passes the time, and you forget about, you know, there's been many days where I came home from work. I had a bad day. I was really upset. I got into my games and I forgot. I stopped thinking about what had me so upset, and I was playing my video game, and I was focused on beating that level. You know, I might not be great at it anymore because I'm so rusty. I haven't played in a long time. But who cares?
That's not what matters, actually. What matters is, and that's not what matters, is whether or not you're great at it. It's your ability to disengage from the thing that's the negators that are attaching themselves to you.
They're made for. They're for leisure. They're for you to pass time. Oh my God, The Sims. Same here, Molly. I spent way too much time building my Sims homes and trying not to have them catch on fire. Or
again, that's world building. And the Division is world building. Thank you, Willow, about that, because it's a very different game. And the fact that it's a highly collaborative game is really cool. I have a difficult time, to be honest with you. I would have a hard time playing that game because I've already expressed the problem. So for video gaming, for me, it has to be a focused game. Like the kids are teaching me Squadron, and I am very slow to it, but I'm enjoying it. So I'm going to allow my brain to extricate the pieces a little at a time until I can. It's like fitting the pieces of a puzzle together, you know?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it really does.
Resident Evil. Willow, I'm with you on that. I actually downloaded it on my Switch and I have to play.
Nothing horror for me. That's just that. So,
yeah,
I love me some Resident Evil. I don't know why. It's just I love the storyline. I love the characters. So I loved all the movies that came from the games because I played the games before the movies came out. So
again, I think you're going right back into world building. You know, we do keep coming back full circle back to it again, right? It has been a constant of coming back to it. So, and actually everything Willow's talking about, because I'm listening to everything she's saying, all of those are world building. I watch Resident Evil as well, but at the same time, I have a hard time being attached to anything that has horror with it. But if this really helps us to recollect and collect it, you know, and work as a unified, you know, front, then I don't see that it can be wrong, as long as it isn't, you know, proposing any harm or danger to anyone. That's the most important. That's one of the most important things. I know that we had a couple touch points we wanted to get to, and I know we keep talking. So I know we talked a lot about memorization skills in the long run, because we're talking about extricating, fitting the pieces of the brain together like a puzzle, so that we can be able to put the pieces together to create the game. We talk about self-restraint, self-confidence, and skill, and the ability to adjust. It's so funny because literally, even though it's here, I like have it down here, and we almost talked every single thing that's on here. It's so fun because we know it's just part and indelible to who we are. It's just crazy. All of the rethink and collaborate, and how all of these skills arm us with the confidence we need to build stronger relationships, work environments, and workflows. I really wanted to focus on that statement because all of the games you're talking about now, and you guys can address that. Do you feel like engaging in world building games help you to build stronger relationships and work environments and workflows? I know Molly just answered something right there, actually.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's a convenient time to put that comment up there. No, I agree. Like that's is real life. We are always trying to build the world around us, whether that's, just doing your day job. Some people more literally than others. Oh, I'm in construction or whatever, right?
Right.
Or all of those same skills, like you're saying, comes back to the things you can learn through gaming. How do I've got this horrible coworker that I want to deal with. How can I make that, what dots do I need to connect so that we can work together, or that I can get them to do what they need to do or what I need them to do? It's role playing. There are people who put can phrase Dungeons and Dragons on their resume. I swear, I think there's actually a TED talk on it somewhere on how you can just put all of these skills from gaming onto quantifiable. Here's my resume,
Well, it's true. I mean, even dealing with that tricky coworker, I didn't learn at school how to deal with somebody who I don't get along with at work. I learned through living, life experience. And part of that experience is look at, growing up, I mentioned playing, online with my brothers. We were part of teams online on, it was Medal of Honor, I think. And we were playing online as teams in competitions. And I didn't get along with everyone on there. But we're on the same team. So you have to learn to work together or you're not going to win your tournament. And that was something that, I learned from and that I took to this day. I mean, I work with people all the time who are difficult to get along with, and you kind of, see where they're coming from, and they might be difficult to get along with, but they might not be bad people. They might just be hard to work with, and you learn to see who that real person is. And then finally you understand, and it's not as bad anymore. It's not as hard because you learn who they are as a person, and you learn what connections you actually do have together.
Right. You disconnect from your assumptions and your expectations because you have to. There is no choice, right? When you're working in team building, you have to be able to disconnect from those two things in order to have a successful relationship. Right. And this is a working environment. You have to have a successful relationship. Right. And it can't be about the other person. So when we're gaming, it's never about the other person in the long run, right? It has to be about what our hands are doing and what our mind is doing and how our mind works through something, and then how it adapts and adjusts to that. And how does it stratify the steps that we need to take to be able to be successfully complete something? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that's perfect. I know that Willow and Molly both said something that were really important. Willow said, right, being aware of the surroundings to find hidden objects. So, Yeah.
And Molly had connecting to each other, raise each other up. How do we deal with so many different personalities? How do we use our strengths as introverts or extroverts or an ambivert? Yep. Yeah, no,
I think that's great. I'm sorry, I keep jumping over you guys. I apologize. Don't let me do that.
You also host your own show. I kind of expected this. I said this, Jonathan, you weren't around before the show. I literally said, I'm going to ask 2 questions, and the 2 of you are going to go. That's how this is going to go. And I think I've gotten 3 in, so we're good.
I can't help it. It's like
I knew this was coming. I asked you here for knowing that was going to be the case. We're good. We have no time limit specifically.
It's the nature of my brain, man. Yep. My brain is always teaching. That's the thing, though. It's constantly, because I'm like this with my patients. I'm like this with everybody. Do you know that I've had these conversations with patients? Because I have to ask. So we're going to go to the clinical side of it, right, John? We were talking about how this builds cognitive awareness to be able to maybe even be able to better control the environment of our illness in the physical manifestation. So I know we talked about it because there was a research article, I think, that you shared, to me, John. Where we were talking about the clinical manifestation. I think that I have had episodes or times where I've had to connect to a patient, and sometimes because of the age of the person, or because of the learned experience, or the lack of trust that they have because of the negative experience they've had in life, you have to find a way to engage that person in a way that makes sense to them, that creates an exchange that's trustful, but that's warm and empathetic, right? And a lot of times the way to do that is actually by engaging in discussing a game that you both like or a fandom that you both love. So I've tons of times engaged in, because obviously I'm a huge Star Wars fan, Avatar Last Airbender. So, I've many a times worked a patient's medical and self-care plan around a game or a book or something that they're really passionate about, using the characters from that or using the strategies from that nerdy, environment to help them to kind of put it into place in their head, because they've already learned that. That's already a skill they've learned. They love that thing already. So why would you not use that? And because it's already a coping strategy. So let's make it beneficial and helpful for that patient to be able to find a way to work through, and create a plan that makes sense for them. So that's one of the things I do. I don't know that many providers out in the world do that.
I work in oncology. I work with cancer patients, and one of the ways that we, especially right now with COVID and they can't have visitors, one of the ways that we help them get through, being bored, and part of, they're bored, they have no one to talk to, so they sit there and they think about their, the effects of chemotherapy, the nausea, the vomiting, all of that. One of the strategies is board games. We have a chess set. They can play chess, they can play games, and it gets their minds off of it. So because they're distracted, they're not thinking of the nausea, they're not thinking of those nasty, effects of chemotherapy. And that's one of the strategies that we actually use. We have a lot of other strategies. We talk about meditation and things like that, but one of them is, distractors, including chess and gaming and board games, and and it takes their mind off that nausea, because sometimes the meds just don't do it 100%. So, we give them medications, but we also give them a chess set.
Yeah.
So
that's lovely.
That makes sense.
Huh?
That makes perfect sense, because you have to focus yourself here. That's no longer, the back of your brain is no longer there. It's what's in front of you.
That's kind of what they're used for. So not only does it work on physical effects of, you're having physical symptoms, you're having nausea, vomiting, abdominal cramping, brain fog from chemotherapy, but it also, that's what games do. They distract you from the real life, and they distract you from that every day. So you look at anxiety and depression and things like that. You're pulling yourself away from those thoughts and those feelings, and you're focusing on something else, and it helps you refocus and, kind of refresh a little bit. So when you're done doing what you're doing, those thoughts that you're having aren't so bad. Those feelings aren't so bad. So, and that's, what we were talking about. Some of the research actually shows that these games are beneficial. It improves cognitive impairment and depression, part of, there's a lot of research papers out there. I was looking at research papers yesterday dating almost 20 years back, where they're researching, the effects of gaming on mental health and on your physical well-being. And those are some of them. They're distractors. And one of the things you were mentioning about, the neurocognitive stuff, it, especially with diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that, it's shown to prevent them. It's shown to strengthen the brain, and that's kind of where we were going with that earlier.
I think that one of the reasons it works, and one of the most important parts of this, is that it doesn't just create a distraction. It actually it stimulates different parts of neurochemicals. So the positive endorphins, stimulating other positive feedback loops in the body. So it will create systems that allow us to reduce the flight and fright system, or the flight and fight system, and then other neurochemicals that stimulate positive endorphins, which in turn then allow us to stimulate different parts, like I was talking about the amygdala. So when that happens, memories, positive and healing and memories, sympathy and empathy, and all of these other positive emotions actually become active. So they then become a panacea to suppress the physical illness manifestation. So it's kind of like taking a medicine, only the medicine is actively engaging in a game or an activity that allows your brain to stimulate all of these positive or these feedback loops. So, there is a huge biochemical and neurochemical series of systemic changes that happens from the head to the toe when we engage in something like what we're doing right now, when we engage in collaborative gaming, when we engage in learning something, a game that's new, and the fun and the enjoyment of the learning process. All of those things really, really, really are like breathing fresh air into the body, into the psyche, and into all of the systems of the body. If that kind of is a good way for you to, to kind of think about, think about it. So, it's great. Everything we've said is extremely relevant and important, but to also understand scientifically the biochemical and the neurochemical changes and benefits in the body, in improving mental wellness, in improving and reducing dysthymia, changes in the circadian rhythm of the body, changes in the microvascular parts of the brain, keeping them more awake and keeping them a healthier circulation throughout the body, but mainly, of course, in the brain itself, which then reduces the risk for microvascular destruction and dementia later on in life. So there's a lot of, nuances, subtle nuances to how engaging in a positive fandom, in a positive, nerdy thing, and like gaming really, really, really has such huge, tremendous physical relevance in the body.
No, like I said, I'm letting you guys go because it's just like there's so much information coming out of your faces, and it's great. Like people are, like even Molly was just saying here, this affects her daily life. The things you're saying, and that's great. I mean, that's not great, but you know what I mean. The information is flowing, that people are learning, and that's why I wanted to do this. Yep. And I know that's kind of why you guys want to do some of what you guys do is that education and stuff. So what do we want? Is there anything more in the clinical that we want to talk about, or do we want to break into kind of where you guys are going with everything?
I think we're ready to go into how we're manifesting this now.
All right. So do we want to reveal the logo first?
Well,
what do you want to do?
Still didn't get the official okay. I'm certainly okay, but I'll probably get a ping going. Why'd you do that? So, but I'm happy to reveal.
I'm okay with it too.
I know. We love it. We're great with it. But our communications and brand manager, which is Jyoti Ramdat, of course, she really has a very strong, nuanced understanding of the logo and the brand, and we really, we trust her indelibly when it comes to these things. She
Well,
actually
if she was watching the show right now, she could pipe into the comments and say something.
I know.
And we're sure that's
Thank you.
happening, and there's no comments coming up saying otherwise.
Then you know, what can I say to you, buddy?
Drum
Hey,
roll.
You you do have the about us, right? Because I did give you that with a little bit of overview of who we are and what we do.
I do.
So, I mean, we are still and I'll let John talk about the research because, you know, this is something we do very, very collaboratively. But in terms of the organization, at the beginning, I kind of explained how Diversely Geek became who we are and how we even started the data collection in the first place and what the inspiration was. The inspiration was to be able to reduce suicidality, to be able to improve self-awareness, self-confidence, positive self-identity, and to eventually lead to self-actualizations. It's the 11 phases of Abraham Maslow's stages to self-actualization is what we base everything on. And we at one point realized that we could actively take that research and create a model for offering services and workshops to the world, you know, via the platforms and mediums of something like Eventbrite, like this, through, you know, a Facebook event, and really focus on very specific fandoms, like what we just did. As a matter of fact, what we are just doing now is literally the example of what we would do, but we would do it in a closed session where we would have people sign up to take part in and participate in a talk and in a discussion in a mentorship program with in a topic that's very dear to them, if that makes sense. So sure, having it like this is something we're going to continue to do, absolutely. But then now we're going to be moving into a place and a stage where we're actually offering concerted what's called mentorship and counselship sessions, and then also helping people build networks, positive networks within the fandoms that they love so much. And then also we're going to actually actively start doing workshops based on our books, the book which we have will be coming out soon, and teaching the phases of the self-care plan based on embracing your inner geek. So that's what we have coming up, guys. And the drum roll, are you ready?
All right, so here's the old. Here's the old. And if you guys want to be cheeky, you can just lean out to the edge of your and you'll be looking around it. Got to lean the other direction. There you go. See, there you go. There you go. I'm just going to take a screenshot of that. And then here's the new drum roll, please. Diversely Me Foundation. This is not the finalized logo, but pretty close.
It's not, but it's very close. And the Diversely Geek remains the parent company and will always be, because it's a globally branded name. People know who we are. But with that name, it was very difficult for people to understand that what we're looking at is self-awareness and the growth of the self. And the Diversely Me Foundation allows us to be able to do that as a nonprofit, to actively now offer those services. And Dave, thank you so much for allowing us to launch our newest organization on this show today, and to let the Canada know that this is something that will be actively available starting from the next months on. That's really something that we have to discuss the exact launch time. Mm-hmm. But if you enjoyed what we're doing today, then you'll really feel comfortable to be able to participate in the workshops and the mentorship programs that we're going to be offering.
And it sounds exciting. Like this, I'm so looking forward.
I know you read it.
Yeah, like I've read it, and I didn't even get to read all of it because you've got a lot of information in here. Charts. There's charts in here. This is in and of itself just a lot of information. So it's like, and it takes some time to digest all of this, even from what we're talking about. Like, I'm going to leave this conversation and go, okay, I think I got that. Right? It's, and I'm loving this. It's like I said, it's learning, it's growing, so I am embracing my inner geek and learning to express my inner geek. And then
actively allowing your fandom passions to transform into positive action, because that's what you're doing right now. So those are our 3 phases. So I mean, do you want John to tell you about the research a little bit?
Please. Definitely. That's why you guys are here. I want to hear everything.
So, I mean, since pretty much the start of it, I've been kind of the director of research, and so I've actually found multiple, articles and research papers studying the benefits of, fandom and, kind of fandom groups, and, having these passions that, you talk about in your everyday life. And the research actually shows that, similar to what we were talking about with gaming, they bring people together as communities, especially, when they in their fandom lives, and when they go to cosplay and Comic-Cons and things like that. It actually brings a sense of community. It improves mental wellness, improves depression, anxiety, for people who are, shy or don't have the same social skills as, you and, the average person. These are ways for them to get out there and connect and actually have some sort of social life. And, we talk about play, and play is an example today. That's one of the part of our research shows that active play, like gaming and going out into cosplay and things like that, has a strong impact on mental wellness and mental health, and anxiety, depression, and like we brought up earlier, suicidality is our one of the big inspirations to us. We want to prevent that. So it's actually one of our the points that are brought up. And I've found several articles detailing this and detailing the positivity of fandom and embracing these passions, and even fostering them. So again, to the parents out there, your kids they like these things, they're enjoying these things, they're going out and they're cosplaying. Well, let them live their life, let them enjoy it, because they're making connections, they're building, they're learning how to do this in their everyday life. They might not otherwise have an outlet, another means to socialize and to build these skills. So yeah.
Yes,
I love
so
that
much.
point. Yes.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that I mean, you might be shy, you might not have the same social skills, you might not have, you might not want to, you might feel awkward going in front and talking to people, you might be so introverted, but these are ways that, allow you to get out there and to,
express yourself.
And in doing that, I mean, that's part of, we talked about Maslow and reaching that self-actualization, but that's one of the ways you have to learn to embrace who you are. And if you're a geek, embrace that. A lot of people, growing up would get bullied for that, but, there's nothing wrong with it. You're having fun, you're living your life, and you're developing these skills. And in the long run, it's actually benefiting your mental health. And, I was surprised about the amount of research that's actually out there showing the benefits to this. And we've tied that into even our book and our organization, and it's the foundation of kind of what we do, is all this research, and it is proven to impact mental wellness and help you develop those skills to function. So
Yeah, to improve higher functioning skills, which one of the things that's most about being socially awkward, a person can become highly functioning as a cosplayer, or highly functioning as an artist, or as a person who builds bridges, as an architect, highly functioning. And that level of high functioning, because you've engaged and you've embraced that particular fandom, it allows you to learn how to disarm your inhibitors and your deterrents. So there are social deterrents, there are cultural deterrents, there are financial deterrents. There's a lot of social deterrents in this world. But if you have the ability to have a strategy that helps you to be able to create a fundamental principles that help you to disconnect from those deterrents, or at least know how to work around them, right? Then you're able to adjust to a challenging situation. So a lot of and also what I want to step back a second. It's 100% one of our biggest goals in this world to change the philosophy of people who think that being a geek and being a nerd is something that's bully worthy. Not at all. Actually, it's one of the best and most important and most amazing things that you can do in this life is to accept the geekdom and the of your life and the fandom passions that you love, because that means that you're well-rounded.
Yes.
It means you're very well acculturated and that you are really self-confident. As a matter of fact,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, and intelligent. You're developing social skills. You're developing, look at Dungeons and Dragons. You're developing, strategy and, critical thinking, and it helps with your higher cognitive thinking at the same time.
Yeah, analysis of self, analysis of others, and then the strategy to be able to create a working activity or a working role of self. So really, it is about being able to grow as a person and be comfortable in that self-growth. What's happened up till now, people who embrace their fandom passions have been told, oh, well, see, you can't do that because that makes you less than someone. And I don't know where that started. And as a matter of fact, I want to wage war against Webster's dictionary to get them to take down their definition, because their definition is extremely derogatory. And if you're going to have someone defined in that way, then the world will define them in that way, right? Mm-hmm. So who are we to do that? Who are we to do that? Albert Einstein was a nerd, for God's sakes. Huge nerd. Marie Curie was a nerd, okay? Abraham Lincoln was a nerd. Everybody had a passionate engagement in some way.
Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, he couldn't
nerds even now.
That's right. I mean, my God, think about this. We would not have the Olympics if we didn't have nerds and geeks. Is your mind blown right now, people? Because it should be. The Olympics wouldn't exist if we didn't have people who were passionately involved and engaged in what? Sports. We wouldn't have a world poker tournament, for God's sakes, if people weren't passionately engaged in this. All of these things that we wouldn't have architecture, the skyscrapers. We wouldn't have these fantastic wonders of the world if people weren't nerds and geeks.
Yep.
You see what I mean? So
I'm going to go on a rant.
Do it.
Here in Alberta, it's a lot of it's hockey and horses and oil. That is the province. Jonathan, you can pretty much confirm that. And those are the positive things. But we're having huge arguments over, oh, we need to put more support into this thing or that thing. Oh, forget the artists. We don't need them. What have you been doing the last year? Netflix, streaming, video games, books, TV, all of these things that are created from the arts, even games, are at its heart art.
TikTok.
This is gorgeous, right? Like, you look at all of these books, these games, it's art. And you need that. And people, for some reason, don't grasp that.
No, they don't.
And it's a sports logos is an art.
Exactly.
Yep.
Your sports mascot came from an artist. You know, all of these things. And I don't understand why people don't understand this.
Yeah, every uniform that an athlete wears is a form of art. It's called fashion. So, hello. Just remember something. There is nothing in this world that exists without a maker, a creator, an artist, and an innovator. Nothing. I challenge someone to tell me that anything exists in this world that has not come from those 4 categories: makers, creators, artists, and innovators. Okay? From the beginning of time. If we didn't have those, we would have nothing that you see today. So, including the ability to be on StreamYard today.
Yes.
It's that simple. Engineering comes from something. It's a geek passion. So, I mean, obviously, our research has a lot more, there's a lot more to it. And I do want to take a few moments to just say that after we collected all that data years ago, I wrote an entire theory around it. It's called an ideate or a postulate. And for kicks, Jonathan and I I was like, well, man, we should put it together, because the Office of Behavioral and Social Sciences Research for the National Institute of Health puts out every year a call for ideates for that exemplify behavioral and social science research. And for kicks, we were like, oh, we have data. Why don't we just put it all together and just see what happens? And we were like, let's try, and let's not worry about it, because they're not going to accept it. It's our first time, right, Jonathan? Isn't that what we said? And so we followed the entire outline. We said, we're going to write this thing. We pondered over it, but we actually had a ton of fun writing it, because we were so relaxed, because we were like, they ain't going to accept it. Lo and behold, we submitted it in August of 2019, and by December 2019, we received that lovely email that says what?
It was accepted.
It was accepted. Your idea has been accepted as an example of a formative, I have to get the email and read it to you, a formative research in the Division of Behavioral and Social Sciences Research under the National Institute of Health. And you are invited to turn that into a full research project. And here are our resources to help you. I think we were slightly floored.
Yeah, you still are. It seems like it's even telling the story, you can see it.
Yes.
It's like,
well, the NIH, which is one of the most preeminent research organizations in the entire world, said that it's cool to be geek, because literally that's what our postulate is about.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, it is. Cool. It's a source of human exchange, a source of connection, a source of connectivity, and a source of empowering and self-identity. That's literally what we wrote. It's a lot more than that, because you have it in the paper. And they were like, yep, we agree with you. Go research it more now.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, let me do that thing now. So, you know what? One of the preeminent organizations in the entire world said, yeah, you have a very credible postulate here and theory. Go ahead and make it so. So we are.
Being a geek.
Yes, we are. So Diversely Geek and the Diversely Me Foundation are continuing to do data collection, but we're going to be doing it in a different way, because now we're going to be actualizing by offering these programs. And then, continuing the interviews, continuing the workshops, and the data collection. And then I would say probably within a year, we should be able to, you are actually the first person, Dave, the first person to read the white paper. Yep. No one else has read it. Yep. So.
Internet.
Yep.
So that's
Yep. You are the first person to get everything. It's in your hands. So, and I just want to mention that Molly B. Marcus, who's on the chat with us today, is one of the is our information's Director of Information's Taxonomy for the Diversely Geek Foundation, and going to be working with us in terms of building the workshops and the and hopefully really getting what we're doing out at a global level. So yay, Molly.
Yay. And thank you for being so engaged, Molly. We and everybody else who's been talking, Willow.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm so happy that you were all here. And Kusuma, thank you guys so much for being here, because you know their conversations have really kept us very active. Aw, thank you so much, Molly. I just read what you wrote. Aw. As a 53-year-old, it's amazing how much more accepting things are now. I wish they were back in the day, but connecting with me and the team has been inspiring for my own growth and confidence because of the acceptance. Aww. I believe that is the core of who we are and what we hope to bring to the world. So, what I hope we're doing.
Oh, Molly.
One exchange, one human exchange at a time. Right, my friend?
Yep. And I think I really think that what you're doing is amazing. And I can't wait to see where it goes. And I can't wait for the world to open up so that it can go.
Yes. Agree.
Yeah, we just need everyone's help to be able to get everyone to know that as we launch the programs, that this is available. These are services. We are a nonprofit. These are services that will be available either free or by my minimal donation. And as an organization, we are looking to build mentorship and networks throughout the world. So people like yourself or Letitia Jones or Javier Cruz-Winnick or Ada Zarate in Mexico, Molly, among Willow, Christian, but people who are experts in their field to be able to come on and be part of the mentorship program. That's really what we need, because we want to be able to offer these workshops, the twofold paths of workshops throughout the year, so that someone who needs to be engaged in understanding part of who they are can find something that they can connect to. So the world, if you're interested and you really have an expertise in something, especially fandom, feel free to reach out to us and let us know, because we're really looking to be able to build very positive, strong, healthy relationships and networks to be able to help the world, basically.
And that is the going to remain the proper
for right
website,
now.
So
yes, until the new website is up, which is again in theory still in flux, but hopefully will be up in a month or more, a little bit more than that.
I'm assuming you would just forward this address to that one.
That's correct.
Because hopefully people will still access this. It's going to stay online, and people will hopefully be watching this for days and weeks and months, and everyone is going to share it and all that,
Yep. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be on here today.
Thank you.
A little nervous to do the presenting, but I hope it made sense to everyone. So
sorry it was late.
That's okay. We got through just fine. I'm glad you were able to make it at all. Originally I just talked to Neisha about this, and when she said you were interested and available, I'm like, yeah, let's make that happen. So I'm glad you were able to make it. And really, we're going on 2 hours. You made it for most of it.
Great, it's true.
Thanks, Molly.
3 minutes.
Thanks,
Molly.
Yay.
Thanks, Dave.
Yes, we appreciate everybody who's been watching. Anything else you guys want to plug before we kind of wrap things up?
Well, we have the workbook, which because we're at this level of formulation now, there were certain things with the research we had to finish in order to be able to get the workbook actually published and out. So the workbook will probably be in publication by hopefully mid-spring, right, John? That's what the hope is.
Hopefully.
Because the workbooks are actually going to be, and the worksheets, including them, are going to be part of the events, what we're offering through our, our workshop. So we certainly need to have the books ready for people to have access to them. But the larger book, which gives the history to how we created this, a lot of what we talked about today, but in much more largesse, that hopefully that series will be coming out. The workbook will be something that people have access to download digitally. And then also a lot of people need a tactile stimulation. So we will be creating it in a very malleable, very flexible format so people can have access to use it. And the goal is to take those worksheets and either they're 13 worksheets, so I don't expect people to do them every day, nor do I expect them to do them in a week. It's about choosing a worksheet out of the 13, maybe once a day or once a week, that makes sense for you to work on. So there's no right or wrong to it. And we'll teach people as the book comes out, we'll teach people how to understand how to make that choice for themselves and how to, allow themselves to not put pressure to do anything the right way, because the whole point of how I rewrote this is there's no right way to do any of it. We just happen to have put it in an order because we did.
Mm-hmm.
So
you have to, if you're going to have something physical, it by nature has some form of order.
And I promise you, it is all geek. It literally has fandom from the first page all the way to the end. It's called a master plan for achieving a healthy life, or to take over the world, whichever comes first. It's literally the name of the book.
I love it so much. I love it. Well, definitely.
Thanks,
Willow's looking forward to hearing it. Willow, for the record, has her own great show on the HWWS network. So she's a fabulous
Pillow Talk with Willow.
Yep. See, there you go. We all know who she is. Willow's. I'm honored to have Willow watching.
I know, right? I love having her here. She's so positive. Her energy is great. So
yeah, no. So we got the book, the worksheets almost ready. The books shortly thereafter. Workshops coming when everything else comes through. There you go. Ding.
Hey, as long as we have our first 10 people, we can go ahead and schedule the first session. So that's everyone's challenge. Everyone on here, go ahead and get me their first 10 people, and John and I are ready to schedule the first session in February.
Yeah. Yeah, we're still not sure that we're going to be able to do anything in February up here.
Well, hey, it's going to be through Eventbrite, so we're pretty good. We're okay.
Oh, okay, that's not so bad. But no, it's I really am. I'm excited to see all of this growing and coming out. I've said that umpteen times because this has been an amazing time. Mm-hmm. Amazing conversation, so much information. I'm thrilled that you guys were able to make the time to do this. So thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Neisha.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who watched. It has been really just a ton of fun here. I do want to thank a few other people as well while we're here. I do have the 427s, whose music you hear at either end of these this conversation. Geekrama.net, as I mentioned, co-broadcasting this. Calgary Clown Society, speaking of the arts, who have generously donated this StreamYard account for me to be able to send this to you. Everybody, not just Neisha and Jonathan, but Diversely Geek and the Diversely Me Foundation. Just as another reminder, we have all of our social medias. We set up a link tree so that it's easy to find absolutely everything. So Linktree, linktr.ee/TheRatHole.ca. You can find our website, YouTube, all of the social medias everywhere possible. As well, coming up, because we are really, I think it might be live possibly to this weekend. No, the 30th. Board Game Bash of Blood. This is what is normally a physical convention that has had to move on to the internet for the year in support of Canadian Blood Services. So they are doing an online raffle. Just look up the Board Game Bash of Blood 2021 on Facebook. You'll be able to find all of that. They've got a bunch of companies, including Doctor Who Worlds Apart, the digital blockchain technology Doctor Who game that I featured on Monday on my show, as well last week on The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. For the record, you can find that and any of my other things on there. At the bottom of that, I've got a playlist for all of the Traveling TARDIS episodes that I've got. That'll be near the top because it was just last week. Oh, good. Willow's going to be a guinea pig. And Molly loves the music. Love it. There we go. This is brilliant. So I'm just going to see if there's anything else I need to hit on here. I don't think there is. Definitely, as I said, this has been part of Bell Let's Talk Day. So make sure you go through. Anytime you're sharing this, use the hashtag Bell Let's Talk. They donate 5 cents for every time that hashtag gets used. Every time you watch the video, I will show the video at the end of the credits as well. But go find it on YouTube. Go find it on Facebook and watch it officially. Because mental health is important. We need to do all of this. In the meantime, by all means, please stay home, stay safe, follow whatever guidance your local health organizations have asked you to do. Don't make them tell you to do it. Just do it when they ask. One of our staff literally just got out of the hospital off a ventilator from COVID. So this is not a joke. Please. I want to go down. I want to see Neisha. I want to go see Jonathan. I want to see all of you guys watching. But for now, all I can say is, I guess, thank you again for watching and good gaming and goodbye.
Did you know that watching me water this plant supports mental health? Watching me not work out today also helps.
Mike, do you remember to buy the milk?
Watching me realize that I did not get the milk is helping.
Watching me vacuum supports mental health.
Watching me nail this pot helps.
Go!
Watching me take this slap shot even helps. Top corner.
Because today is Bell Let's Talk Day, and every time someone watches this video, Bell will donate 5 cents towards Canadian mental health initiatives. So thank you for watching and helping and sharing and watching and helping and watching.